our own virtual manager. Opening it from the terminal.
It doesn't matter. You can search from however you get to it.
Mhm.
Yep, there you go. Once you're there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once we're here, we say, click on local install. What this is going to do is look for an ISO that we have on our disk somewhere. Okay. So we'll click on browse. And where it is you should have something called an ISO directory. And if it pops up, you see two in there, Alpine and Debian. Now, if you're interested in small embedded systems, Alpine is worth your time to look at. It's a very clever distro. I was going to use it tonight, but there's not hardly anything in Alpine that's in test out. It's very different. It doesn't use system D. It doesn't use the package managers that you're familiar with. It doesn't even use the same shell. So it's very much a FreeBSD type of distro, but it's not FreeBSD. So we're going to use Debian, which is basically Ubuntu. So you click on this and you say, choose volume. And notice what happens here. It said Debian 12 down here. It automatically senses what kind of OS you got. If you have a weird distro that you're playing with and it doesn't show up, don't worry about it. Just type in generic and it'll work. Okay. Because remember, we're booting Linux on Linux. This isn't like we're booting Windows on Linux, which requires a huge thunking layer to go between hardware. Okay. So I'll say forward, and you can give it memory or not. How much do you have? Well, each machine in front of you has 32 gig. How much do you need to run Debian? 2. What are we going to do? Let's go crazy. Let's use 8 gig. Okay. So we'll say 8096. That gives us 8 gig. And we can use, it doesn't matter. The speed is not so much in the CPU here. The speed is in RAM. So we can leave it at 1. That's fine. But if you want, you can put in 2 or you can put in 4. It's just that it may make your host a little slower. Okay.
Depending on how
Yeah.
powerful your CPU.
Yeah, you can, if you like say, hey, give me all the RAM for my virtual machine, your host is going to slow way down. Yeah. So if you're going to run 30 different machines, you kind of want to parse out your memory accordingly. So and then you click on forward. And then here it says create a disk image. We will change that to 5. Our goal is to learn about Logical Volume Manager. So we are going to create a small chunk of disk. Okay. And the way this works on KVM, unlike VMware and unlike VirtualBox, it allocates all 5 gig. So when you create 10 virtual machines, all at 20 gig, even if you don't run them, it's allocating 10 gig chunks. Okay. You can change that around with some magic, but for the sake of argument, we just want 5. Okay. And I put 5 dot to make sure it's going to give me 5. And this is where you give it a name, and I don't really care what you call it. Deb 12 LVM. That's good enough for me. Now we can all call it the same thing. And we will be able to talk to each other. Yeah. We set up the networking, which we are not going to do. So you won't be able to. Okay. We will walk through what that process is. All right. Hit finish there. And now what happens? Boom. All right. You have two different kinds of install. Graphical, or where it just says install. I don't care. I'm going to use this one that says install, because we will not be installing a desktop. We're making this a server. Nothing but TTY, SSH, that's it. Command line, VI. Yeah, I'm managing 6,000 servers. I'm not going to be using a GUI to manage them. Okay. Install. And then it asks you a whole mess of questions. So English, United States, American English, let it do its thing.
So you know the benefits of having like a server without a GUI, right? It runs faster.
Yeah.
Well, if you use like systemctl and like you isolate the multi-user space target and just make it like, do you still have the benefits, or is the GUI still installed and you reap the benefits?
Depend. It always depends. When you say set default target to multi-user, what that is basically saying is when you boot your system, just go to TTY. But X Windows is still there and it's still running. So if you don't install the X Windows stuff and you boot, it will only boot character mode. You have more resources that are available. Now, will it make that much difference? Well, it really depends on the load that your server is under. I used to put X Windows on my servers when I was at Foster's, but only on one or two that had extra clocks, so we say. I didn't put it on all of them because I would use one X server to manage a bunch of little boxes, or basically one small box that managed bigger boxes, and left the resources alone up there.
Yeah.
And put the X on one machine. That's one way to do it. And then it prompts you for the host name. So just give it the same thing. Deb 12 LVM. Now, this is the next part where it says domain name. Generally speaking, just use local domain when you're doing a lot of VMs that you're building up, spinning down, tearing down, spinning up, taking down. Unless you want to manage your own DNS and DHCP at the networking routing level, which is fine. That's an adventure for another day. So you just say local .domain. And then root password. I don't care what you use. I'm going to use VMware 12, and I'm going to use VMware 12 for the Tux user that comes next. Why VMware 12? Well, every VM I've touched in the past 5 years has the same password. And how often do my VMs get spun up? I've lost track. I have more VMs than I know what to do with. But, oh, yeah, I've got this old version of something I can play with. Oh, what's the password? Oh, yeah. VMware 12. Okay. And we'll probably squawk at you. Not long enough. And for the new user is Tux. I just hit Tux and then VMware 12. Now, if this is production, I would definitely use a more complex password.
I don't think this sheet comes with the ISO.
Browse. So to go down default, and now click on browse local. And go to other locations.
Just those.
Go to computer,
And they move that.
go to NNT, maybe go to spin, I believe, ISO,
Getting creative.
Davian 12. And there you go, forward. 8096. You can give it to it if you want, doesn't matter. Forward 5, we don't want to create a massive amount of disk. Forward. And call it Dave 12 LVM. Yeah. And then go down one and in. Help each other out here. I am going kind of fast.
Thanks. So.
Now I'm installing it on which box? Yeah, right there, 3. Okay. Pick your time zone. And this is the Debian net install. Now, this is where we're going to kind of play some games here. Okay. Notice it says guided, use entire disk. Guided, use entire disk and set up LVM. Guided, use entire disk and set up encrypted LVM. Okay. We are going to use the second option. There will be magic that happens that I will explain as we move on. What happens is when you choose LVM, all the software that you need to run the LVM gets installed. I won't say it's a lot, but I will also say it's not a little. It's significant. It actually changes your kernel. It actually recompiles your kernel to acknowledge that you're using LVM. So it is think of it this way. You're driving down the freeway and you decide to put LVM on it. And you say, okay, that's the equivalent of taking an exit, pulling the engine out, putting another engine in, and getting back on the freeway. LVM is systemic through the boot process. Okay. So yes, you can install it after the fact, but it won't be part of your user space. You actually have to create another volume group to put it in. Okay. So we're going to use this second one. I used to set it up all the time this way because it made disk management easier, but anymore, you don't need the overhead of LVM because disk drives are all memory now. And when your memory goes bad, that doesn't matter if LVM is there. It's going to get hosed anyway. So we are going to use LVM. And then it tells you where do you want to put it. And in this case, make your life a little easier where it says separate home partition. And then we'll get to do reverse engineering on what our boot did and see how the volume groups got created for us automagically. Because this is kind of what's happening right now. And we hit enter. Write changes to disk and configure LVM. Yes. Amount to use use it all. And off we go. And then it says, if you continue, will be written to disk. Yes. Now, what I want you to do is take a few seconds and look at this stuff. The following tables of the following types change. LVM VG, volume group, which is called volume group here is dev 12 LVM dot VG or dash VG. So it's created a volume group and it's created a logical volume on that volume group. So think of, here's your set theory. Here's my volume group, and I've created a logical volume within that group. And then notice I have the same volume group with a root partition. So I have another little logical volume within my volume group. And the very last one is swap. So I have swap, home, and root all within my volume group. Okay. And then it says this is how it's going to be formatted. And then there is a very special partition here as ext2. This is slash boot. Boot has to be ext2 or it won't boot. Okay. In this case, with LVM, it has to be this way. Okay. And then we say yes. And off it goes. And now, since this is Debian Net, it's installing everything over the internet. And since we have a really fat pipe, it won't take very long.
Professor, what was the partition disk that you used? Was it this setup LVM or
Yeah, you want the second.
second one?
There you go.
Oh,
And then down one.
this one?
Mhm. And then yes. And yes, use it all.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, yes. All right.
Okay, there you go.
And we're all kind of on the same wavelength here,
Yes.
grinding away and installing an OS. Now, while this is loading, I will tell you about some interesting developments that I'm watching in the world of operating systems. How many are familiar with Chrome and Chrome OS? Chromebooks, yeah. Notice that power wash thing that they've got,
Mhm.
where it basically trashes the box, you rebuild it, you log in with your Gmail account, boom, saves everything. That is the future of operating system. Why? Security. CBS, I'll let that sit there for a second. I need to write this down so I don't forget it. CBS, I think it's 60 minutes overtime. And the 5 eyes. How many saw this? Are you at least familiar with it? Yeah. I haven't watched it yet because I haven't had time. It's about an hour program. But these are the top security people for the 5 English-speaking nations. United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, us, and somebody else. United, well, whatever. And they're all saying the same thing. China is working double, triple overtime. Corporate espionage. They've already siphoned all the 23andMe data. They know they know more about us than we do. Why? I don't think we know yet. But the thing that is, this is a very interesting issue. My concern is we live in the United Nations here. At one time, one class, I had 8 different foreign languages spoken. My concern is people are gonna get paranoid about this and go bigot. Oh, you're one of them. I hate that. Because it's not even close to true. But the thing it is, this is coming, and we are going to see more of this. When your grandma loses every single penny in her savings account to a Chinese hacker, you won't be able to not be prejudiced. It will take rational effort. I'm just bringing this up. This is the future. And there's very few books in life that forced me to change my worldview. One of them was Cast. It's spelled this way. By Elizabeth Wilkerson. Phenomenal one. It changed my worldview. Okay. Hey, I'm a middle-aged white guy. I don't know what it's like to have somebody have prejudice against me. I'm a middle-aged white guy. Okay. It's different when your skin is a different color. I've seen it in my classes. It bothers me. And there's not much I can control if somebody's being a real crazy person. But this security issue, remember what happened to the Japanese in World War II? They got pushed into camps. They were born and raised here. They fought for us. Now, why am I getting off on this? AI is pulling your thought patterns into that direction. Because if I can get you to feel before you think, I can get you to do what I want. That's human behavior. Race, creed, and color, doesn't matter. If I get you to act by emotion, you're going to do it. And that's what we see in our political spectrum. We see these two extremes. This is only going to get worse. So learn what AI is doing. The intersection between human behavior and technology has been studied and studied fairly deeply. We still don't know what some of the long-term effects are going to be. Okay. This is just a warning coming from an old guy who's close to retirement. Okay. So I'll say no for scanning media. United States, and then just choose the top one, Deb. No proxy, and just let it run. Okay. But this Five Eyes security thing is a little bit spooky on how deep the tentacles are. Like, for example, if they want to stop the grid in a certain part of the country, they could do it. Well, the grid is not that well protected. It's old technology. And this is why there's a push to get people educated about this stuff.
Having an issue.
Okay, once it starts installing, I believe after this, there'll be a prompt that says, what packages do you want to install? Oh, you broke it. Okay, it'll one more. One more, because you have there and stuff.
I think everyone's breaking.
Yeah. We did it.
Oh.
Is it the error that I'm getting up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what this error is.
We can fix it.
Installation setup failed. No installation. Let's see what's it yapping at me about? So installation step failed. There, how many have got this error?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. What does this mean? You're all gurus, right? All right. Open another terminal, which I'm going to have to do this way. All right. Change direct, let's do this. Type in ID. And your Tux user should be part of the Kavian and libvirt directory. Okay, those are the groups we belong to. All right. The default location, let's do a df minus h here. Do we see any disk that is at 100%? No, so we're probably not running out of physical disk space. So let's go to var libvirt. And it's under images. Oops, SU. This is where you'll need your SU. And this is the easiest way to do it. In the future, you just type in SU minus. The minus sign says log in as if I were the root user. If you leave the minus sign off, it will still work. It's just that now you're the Tux user with root permission. Either way is fine for this. Hit enter, and then you put in the password for Tux again. Jeremy, spelled the right way. And I want you to look at something here. Yes.
This is very cool results. So,
Oh, you're good. You're booting from hard drive. So you're walking the process. Let's see the next one. Yours work, yours work, yours work. Okay. So once you, the blue screen that you guys are on, what you want is just the bottom two, SSH and standalone system, no desktop. Okay. And let's see here. When I'm digging it, it's
Right. Maybe it's just one. It's biometrics. You say everything.
only part. I'm getting it. So let me see if I can do.
Oh,
Part of the
no,
right-
ED program.
And I'm part of the
Oh. There's an extra.
mine exited. LVM. Let's go back up here to where it says detect disks. And what I'll do is just skip the LVM part, see how it behaves. And I put two. Who of those of you that are working, did you use two processors? Or one?
Two.
You use two?
Two.
So you follow the same, okay. Oh, configure the package manager. Oh. Configure the package managers where it's failed.
Getting your installation.
That's where we're getting our error because we're all coming from the same IP address. We're all hitting the Debian servers all at the same time. And the Debian servers are going, what? I don't think I want to let you do that. So you guys were lucky because you hit enter first. Okay.
I gotta configure the package manager.
Yeah, that's where it's dialing. Yeah. Scan, so no on extra media. Network mirror. I'm going to say yes to the mirror. And I'll use HTTP, United States. And whether it says use non-free firmware. In the case of a virtual machine, it doesn't matter. But the firmware is a real issue on Linux with hardware. I have an old notebook. I put Linux on it. Oh darn, I can't get the Wi-Fi to work. Well, the firmware has to be specially downloaded because it's encumbered by the company that made the Wi-Fi card. Same problem with NVIDIA. NVIDIA requires you to have their version of the binaries. Okay. And I'm going to say non-free, no. User contrib, why not? Yeah. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's where it died. It was configuring a package software. So those of you that died. Yeah, go. Yeah, go up to configure package management. This one. And then say no. And then use a network and say yes.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter what it means there. And then United States, use the compound. And then hit enter. And then use non-free. You just say no. It doesn't matter. Right. Non-free, say yes, come out. And say yes to that one. And then what it's doing in the backported software, I'm gonna go ahead and select that. I don't think we're gonna need it and just hit space. Yeah,
Space.
yeah, space is what toggles it and then hit enter. Non-free, doesn't matter, yes or no, no. Enter. It'd say yes on the contributed software. Yes. Yes. Opposed. Yep, that's all you need in there. And then you guys get it. And the bottom one for backports, go ahead and take the bottom one for backport. Probably bottom. Backport. Not that we're gonna need the backports, but we might. Yes.
Yeah.
It all turns out. I have not set up an internal mirror yet, but maybe. Maybe I should. You might wanna. Yeah, might wanna set up an internal one. And I still get a failure. You get a failure too.
Yeah.
All right. Isn't this fun? Select and install software. Let's see, I may have to go back one for the package manager. Yep. Let's see, install base system. Now, I might be able to get to that. See Virtual Console 4. Very helpful. Press enter. Yeah. Guess what I'm playing with, folks? This is a recovery screen. This is BusyBox, and this is what happens when things get really, really bad. It mounts things, and it looks like it's trying to get stuff, and it looks like a hiccup. But you guys installed the VM, right? The VG, the LVM, and that came through. Okay. Yeah, zero space on target home. Medium. All right. Go back to detect disks, go back a few steps and see what happens. I'm wondering if because we chose such a small disk size and we're putting LVM on it. Normally, yes. It's still going to give me an error. Go back. All right. You overwritten. Yes, I want to overwrite it. Let's see what happens here. It's not going to let me do it. Oh, this is the fun thing about using KVM. Abort! Let's start over. And it's not that hard to start over because, this is just like VMware. When your mouse gets stuck inside the VM, use Control and Alt. And if you press those two together, it releases the mouse so you can get to it. So I'll just close that. And I can say, shut down, force off, power off. Yes. Now here's the cool part. At delete, that's exactly what it means. It deletes the disk, it deletes everything about it, and it removes it from the inventory, and it's gone forever. So that's exactly what it means. Delete. And boom. So it's gone. So I'm going to start over. So I'm going to do things slightly different. That's the nice thing. You can install, you can probably install another one. You can install 2 or 3 of these virtual machines while everybody else is tinkering around. Install one with less RAM and add the desktop. And if you're waiting around. And I'm going to make this 10 instead of 5. I'll give it the same name because I just trashed it. Now, Debian has a file called preseed that you can put on a separate disk or a pen drive and put in your floppy or put in your ISO, boot from that and say, go look at that preseed file and have it automatically do an install for you. So you don't have to answer these questions every time you do an install. I'm glad mine failed. Because that makes it easier to show. You can call it whatever you want. Dave 12 LVM is what I'm calling it. So logical volume manager, local domain. VMware 12. Whoops. Tux, not with an X, not with a C. X. Here we go. Guided, use entire disk and set up LVM. Use that one. Separate out the home partition. Right.
Which separate are we doing? Separate what?
What are we?
Oh, the when it's the LVM, you're separating the home partition from the root partition. So it's asking you
Just separate the middle.
separate.
So just the middle choice then?
Correct.
Yeah, you want the LVM is your option. Yes. So far, it's not complaining. I wonder if we ran out of swap space. But then again, half of them work, the other half didn't. Anybody else is working? Is it clicking along?
Yes, no.
Okay, so far so good. Right.
That's me real quick.
Isn't this fun? This is why we get the big bucks, because things don't always work, right? We get to go figure it all out.
Yeah, let's go troubleshoot.
And big bucks is definitely relative.
Like troubleshooting.
If it's your first IT job, anything is great, right? No extra media. And I think what I'll do is that's a mirror, so it should detect the fastest mirror. Yeah, I think it's just because we all hit enter at the same time and the mirror, the round robin mirror thing kind of got lost. We'll see though. We'll see if it dies on me. The reason I like to use Debian as for this situation is that you'll find Debian in the back rooms of all kinds of companies because you don't have to pay to play. Debian is unencumbered. In other words, when you install it, they do not include proprietary stuff. That just changed with them adding proprietary firmware, but they got approval from all the people that have proprietary firmware to deliver it this way. So this package user thing is just a popularity contest that they use to track which packages you're downloading and installing. And even if you say no, they're still going to track it. So now when you get to this screen, you only want the bottom two.
That's SSH. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
SSH.
No desktop. No desktop. Because we'll be doing command line only. Also install a whole lot faster.
How do you get it to go down to just continue? Oh, should just hit enter.
Yeah.
I know, I thought it was good mention. Yeah.
Yeah, if your window's too small, you can make it bigger or drag it around or,
No, it's because I would be selecting one of the options and I thought I was gonna like select it or when to
Yeah.
select that one.
that's the problem when you're using the TTY is it doesn't automatically expand or contract the screen. And it says, do you want to install Grub on your primary drive? Yes. And your primary drive is Dev VDA, virtual disk A. Second disk is going to be what? VDB, virtual disk B, and so on. Have they probably haven't covered Grub yet, have they? They're, in this semester or this right around chapter 9, they're getting into processes and list open files and process IDs and
I think we just.
You said dev VDA?
Yes.
yeah, VDA. Yeah, make sure you select that one. Installation is complete. Hit enter. Now, once it's done, it should pop up and you see this and you hit enter. Now, let me show you some of the quirks about KVM that you don't get in VirtualBox or VMware Player. I have happened to grow to like them. Is it my machine is running? I disconnect the viewer. My machine is still running. I just don't have the viewer connected to it. Okay. Which I probably shouldn't have done, but oh, here it is. This is the virtual manager. All I do is right click and say open, and there it is again. When I bring up my machines on Spice, okay, I'm having trouble with that one. There's SUSE running as a virtual machine using a web proxy Spice protocol off my machine in the front using a web browser. You don't have to have virtual manager to connect your boxes. Okay. There's a gazillion ways to connect to this stuff. But what I want to show you here is view details. View details in virtual manager. Tons of cool info in here. And I will we'll just walk through a couple of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. Overview, add your title, your descriptions, OS information, performance, CPUs, so on and so forth. Memory, you can change it, but then you will have to reboot. Boot options is the one I want to show you. What happened to our CD-ROM? It vaporized. But what if we still want it? We can do this. And this is also really cool. Start virtual machine on host boot up. So if you have 15 virtual machines you want to turn on with your host, you just set it up. So you can do that. Every time you bounce your box, it's going to turn on your virtual machine, which can be really handy if you're using your virtual machine for, say, a Plex server. Perfect. I'm going to leave it off. But this is where I want to show you is enable boot menu, SATA CD-ROM. Okay. So we want them all, but notice we can change the order. We want Virt IO disk 1 as our first one. And we want SATA as the second one. Drop down one over on the left, the disk. Unemployed changes, yes, please apply. Okay, after next shutdown, it's showing you where your file is stored. var lib libvirt images dev12 ovm Q Cow 2. It has super cow powers. It goes literally, that's why they call it cow, because the cows have superpowers. There's a lot of folklore in the backwoods of the world of Unix and Linux. I mean, a lot of it's pretty funny. The Q cow is the format that is optimized for the KVM. QEMU, which is an additional plugin for KVM, allows you to convert this to a VirtualBox disk or a VMware disk or a raw disk, which you can then turn around and do a DD to a hard drive and boot a physical machine. Yeah, there's a lot of steps. You can go from physical to virtual and virtual to physical. I hope you don't have to do a lot of that. It just takes forever. SATA-ROM is our next one. Browse. And this is where you go to find your Debian distribution. So now, if my machine totally hoses and it cannot boot from the virtual disk, it will boot the install disk and I get to rebuild it. Okay, this is probably not the way to run a production box, but nevertheless. And all the rest of this stuff we can get to later. The display spice is, you have an option, VNC and Spice. VNC is virtual network computing. I don't know if we'll get to that in this semester. We'll see. But Spice is optimized specifically for KVM, and think of Spice as a graphical server that goes around your virtual machine, that no matter what state your virtual machine is in, you can still get to it using the Spice protocol. Okay, so go back to console and let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me log in as Tux. VMware 12. And to reboot, I have to be super user, so I do sudo reboot. Okay, it won't be there. Su minus. This is the other way. This is the other way to cheat the system, is you say su minus, and then you say VMware 12. Now I'm root. Okay. When sudo will not work, you still have options. Su minus is how you bypass sudo, but you still have to know the root password. Alpine and a few others use do as. They don't use sudo. It's do as. So there I am. I'm ready to boot. So now if I do reboot, what does this look like?
So what did you put in? Sudo.
sudo is not installed, so it won't work. Su space minus. And that will bring you in as root. And then do reboot. You can also do this with, I wonder if this works. Nope, not yet. We'll get there. Let me go back to details. Boot. Enable boot menu. Apply. Okay, fine. So I got to turn it off. The enable boot menu, when you select it and you boot and you select the menu, it allows you to boot into BIOS. But where's the BIOS? It's the BIOS of the virtual machine, not your physical machine. Okay. All right. Since today is logical volume manager day. Login is root. If you're not root, that's fine. We'll get you there. Watch, they won't let you log in as root. This is the default. The default is, well, on some distros will not let you log in as root, period. You have to log in as the first user, then SUDO. But we don't have SUDO installed. So why don't we do that? Apt install SUDO. There we go. That's it. That's all it takes. Now I want to add tux to my user. So I say add user AG SUDO DK tux. Whoops, backwards. Oh darn. What's going on? User mod, maybe. All right.
What do we put in for installing sudo?
Apt space install space SUDO. Yeah. There. All right. So the commands that I'm using, I can't remember what I typed in. Type in the word history. And what do you see? All the commands. There you go. All right. So once we log in as root, we get this. Then we did apt install SUDO. And then the next one we type in is user mod. Yeah, user mod. User mod dash A for case G. And then we want the group and then the user. SUDO tux.
Question. Logged in as root, it's still failing to install sudo.
What's wrong?
Logged in as root.
You have an IP address. How do you find out if you have an IP address? Type in IP state A. You have an IP address? Looks like it. Can you do NS lookup on Google? One word, NS lookup.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's fine. Google.com. Well, you got networking. Type in exit or control C or control D or whatever it is. All right. So your packages aren't working. So how do we check packages? Packages can be corrupted. Now let me see. Anybody else getting a problem with the packages? Everybody else is working just flawlessly. So when you say apt install sudo, it says operation not permitted. It would help if you spelled it right. That's right. Install. Computers don't care if you can't spell, as long as you don't spell the same thing
It took me a while.
wrong every time in your code. So, yeah, your typing will get better, maybe. All right, so SUDO and then user mod. Now tux is part of the users. But what our goal is in the next hour is to look at our LVM. So here we type in PVS. Where am I going to put all this so you can see it? PVS shows you physical volume. Okay. So PVS and then LVS and VGS. Not necessarily in order. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So notice what it says when I type in PVs. It shows me VDA 5 and Deb 12 LVM VG. And then if I do VGs, it shows me Deb 12 LVM VG. There's one. And I have 3 logical volumes. It's telling me I have 1 PV, 1 physical volume, and I have 3 logical volume. It's a little hard to see. I don't think I can make that any bigger. That's about all I can do, just go full screen. That still doesn't help much, does it? Okay. So type in PVs and then VGs and then LVS, and it shows you. So PVS enter, VGS enter, and LVS enter. And it's showing you that. Then do DF minus H. And it's showing you what's going on here. I realize it's small, but what you've got here is it's showing you my boot partition or root partition is dev mapper dev 12 LVM VG. And the dash is telling me which, well, excuse me, the dash is telling me which logical volume it is. Remember, I have 3 logical volumes and 1 volume group. Okay. All right. Now what? Let's add some disk. Okay. Let me step down the hall, be right back.
That's a serious one. All right.
This, that was done. Oh, wow.
It's cheap.
Nice. Was too broken. So then we'll get rid of that, and then you talk back to yeah, and that would be the whole deal and that's like that's like oh yeah. We get extended the last time since we just used it like we did. Usually see things yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, I've never had except for instead. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, you could have this instead of just like $60, you could buy like a $12.
Like he has one, it just because when he's moving around, and it's about the time, I think it's black out.
You know what, that is probably better though, because then you don't have to separate them. Machine. That's better.
Yeah. Oh, you timed out. Open your camera.
History.
Still works well. If you planted.
Something. But that's on
That's so used to. And it's just like, hold on.
It's into that.
How far are you in this? Still traffic. Still traffic. It just come.
Who's got it figured out? All right, good. And did you bring the machine down and then you go into view details and we add this from there. The perils of teaching back-to-back classes, you don't get a break. So as you can see, oh boy, well, when you drink one of those things, what do you expect? Up here hopping around like a little kid. All right. So we did our DF. When you install without LVM, none of the LVM tool chain is available to you unless you explicitly install it. You can always install LVM after the fact. It's apt get install LVM 2, not LVM, but LVM 2. And that's it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is see if I can remember the command. Oh, I know I've got that information somewhere. Hold on. Let me find it and I will explain. Okay. New. System D. Ah, that's it. Here we go. This is a built-in now that saves you all kinds of lovely headaches. And let me find it. Blah, blah, blah. It used to require several steps. Now all you have to do is type in system CTL enable SERIAL dash Getty @TTY S0 dot service. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? I'll type it in again. Okay, it's really hard to see, but you're typing system control as in CTL. System control is one of the wrappers that goes around system D. Okay. Then I say enable, which tells me I'm enabling a service. And then it says serial minus Getty, which is a way to put a TTY talk to thing on a serial port. At TTY S0, uppercase S dot service. And I hit enter, boom, it does it. Then I hit up arrow and say start. Now, what I think I just did, let's see if it works. Oops. Open.
Leave the serial one and then.
Where's my console? Where'd it go? Oh, because I killed it. I'm missing a screen. But I closed it and brought it back up again. Oh, well. We'll come back to that when I can show it to you. I can show it to you on another machine. Never mind. On yours, you will have an option above your virtual machine. Right here over your virtual machine, it says view consoles and click on serial
With the.
and hit enter. And then what this does is you hit enter.
What's our username?
So when you do view and then console serial, and that's what that command enables. What this is doing is most of the equipment in the rack, except maybe the UPS, well, UPS 2, has a serial port. That serial port you plug in and you can manage through a standard TTY connection. You don't need networking. You just need a connecting cable and that's it. That's what this is mimicking. Okay, this is mimicking a serial port. So if you happen to have serial ports all set up on your host server, you can do a pass-through to your VM via serial and not need anything X. So if you need to create an embedded system that doesn't have any networking, you could do that. Okay. So mine isn't showing it because I closed it and then opened back up again. And it's because I'm kind of doing the X Windows thing from that box. So, all right. So what I'm going to do now is do power off. So it's now off. Guest is not running. So now I go into open and go into details. So this is kind of where I'm going to put in some interesting things here. Description, TTY S0 enabled. And I'm going to add two, let's see, I have one 10 gig disk, going to add two 5 gig disk. That's where I'm going. So when you go down here to say add hardware, that's all you do. Click add hardware, and it tells you what do you want to add. Well, I want to add storage. Duh. I'll create one at 5. Finish. Boom. So I now have 2 disks. I'll do that again. Storage, add another 5 gig disk. Notice my disks.
But
I have 1, 2, and 3. And let's double check my boot options, make sure that works. Yep, that's looking good. All right, there we go. So now I could go view console. And since I've enabled the, well, I guess it won't let me do that because it's off. I haven't enabled it. Oh, anyway. So let's turn the machine on. Boom. All right. Logging in as root. I don't see any drives. You mean it didn't do magic for me? No. What we need to do now is we need to format the disk. Like what we did in test out, and they showed you how to do that in different ways. This is that process. Okay. So if I say F disk minus L, it shows you all the crazy ones. So let's
don't you have to enable them?
yeah, this is what I do. F disk vertical bar grep or VD. And it gives me only my VDs. So it shows that I have VDB at 2 gigabytes, which means I mistyped my 5. And I have VDC at 5 gigabytes. But they're not formatted. They don't know what to do. So what I need to do now is use fdisk to format them. So the way I do this is fdisk VDA2 and hit, whoops, dev VDA2 print. So you can see there's, oh look, it's already created for me. How nice. So when I rebooted the machine, it saw the raw disk. And LVM2 put a partition on there and labeled it as an LVM. Automatically. Just kind of nice. All right. Forgot about that. So I don't need to do that. Okay. Here's what we can do is there is a command that comes, let's double check my other drive. VDA3. No, VDA. Wait a minute. I want VDB. Darn it. Yeah, there's nothing on it. Never mind. I was wrong. All right. Here's what we need to do. Try to fdisk vd /dev /vd as in virtual disk, B as in Baker. It's our second disk. Hit enter. And if I do P for print, nothing is there. So what I want to do is create a new partition. So you N for new, P for primary, 1 for the default, take the default, take the default, and then we change the type. We can format a disk and change the type of operating system that's going to be put onto that disk. So we need to change the type to LVM. Okay. And I don't know what they all are. You hit the letter L and it tells you Linux LVM is 8 echo. So I type in 8 echo. And notice I now have one partition, all of it, as my Linux LVM 2 gig. And then I do W to write it. Okay. Do the same process, fdisk/dev/vdc. And we can split this drive in two and create new volume groups and new logical volumes to go with a lot of them. But I don't want to confuse you too much. So let's just create one more. So I'll say new primary, take everything and give it a type of 8 echo, right? Whoops. New. I need T for type. 8 echo. Yep. Right. Okay. Let me try something here. Let me see if I can get this to be a little nicer to your eyeballs. $235. Aha! I think that'll work better, don't you? What am I doing? Let me exit out of this one. My virtual machine is now closed, folks. I don't have the client running. I am logged in to that machine by way of an X terminal, by way of my machine in my office. Basically, I've SSH'd in. It's just SSH. SSH to what? The virtual machine. How did I get there? I SSH to the host first. Then I can SSH to the virtual machine. Look at the IP address. Is that our subnet? Not even close. So if you try to SSH to that IP, it ain't gonna happen. Okay. All right. So let's look at my history here. That's everything we've done. And well, almost. So we did the F disk. So now let's do this. Let's do PVs. And then do PV display. It shows you more information about the one that we do have created. And now let's do PV create. PV create. What were they? It was dev VD B1 and dev VDB or C VDC. Ta-da! So I should have given it a name first. Oh well. No device found for C1. Let me see here. Let's see here. F disk
Forget it was right.
minus L. C. D. Oh, there. All right, physical volume created. So now it's there. And if I do PVs, there. So what have I done? We added disk. We did the equivalent of open the box and put in 2 drives. The next thing we did is we F disked them to say, these are going to be an LVM drive. That was step 2. Then on our history here, we did show them to me. And when I show them to you, I only saw VDA 5, the very first one. After F disk and then this command, PV create, it makes these part of the logical volume suite. Okay. So we can create, what we'll do here is we will create a single logical volume over 2 disks that will entail another volume group. Okay. So let's do that. What are we going to call it?
I'm sorry, I got lost.
Of course, I don't blame you. How many times have you done this before? And how many times, how fast am I going? Like warp speed. Yeah, I get it.
I thought that I created
No device found. Okay. Do. But you did F this, right? Yeah. Oh, you did uppercase. It needs to be lowercase. Do F disk on those. Just hit out Earl a bunch of times. And hit enter. And do P for print. And let's see what it shows you. So you didn't take it. So N for P, enter, and then T, 8 lowercase. There you go. And now do P for print. Well, now it is W for right. Now, and then do it again. For the other one. That was B, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you did, and I'll do it for C.
Okay, I think I got it.
Oh, okay.
No, it is.
Yeah, it's case sensitive. Pretty much everything's case sensitive. Oh. Oh, so add hardware. And then you say storage,
Yeah.
click there and make it 5 gigs. And say finish. Whoops, too many dots. There you go. Finish. And then do that again, add hardware. And
Oh, yeah.
there you go. And so there they are. And now all you have to do is boot it. Reboot. You selected a desktop. Shame on you. How many selected a desktop? Here's how you get around it. It's okay. We can fix it. We can pretty much fix anything. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Reinstall, right? Don't worry. This is how it works. You hit Control T to get a terminal. Did that work? If not, click on Activities and click on Terminal. Okay. Ah, got a terminal. Good. Now let's type in SU space. I don't know if that's installed for you or not. Hit minus sign. Enter. And type in whatever password you used. There we go. All right, now follow me on this command. Yeah, once they're added, reboot it. Just type in reboot. To reboot your box, just type in reboot. And to fix this works for almost any installation of Linux out there. You say system control set default multi-user target. And that will force your GUI desktop to disappear. It doesn't go away. This is what you were asking, is that they're still available, but it uses a whole lot less resources because it's not running. Okay.
Yeah.
And in your case, once you hit enter and you hit reboot, you will no longer have a GUI desktop. And if you want to go back to a GUI desktop, that will cost you $50 in Starbucks cards. I'm teasing. What that there, it doesn't make any sense. But if you say set default and hit enter, it doesn't give you any clue. The only clue is graphical. So those are the two flags you need. Multi-user.target and graphical.target.
I literally was reading through that last night.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah. All right, and we want to keep ours at multi-user because multi-user doesn't fire up X.
Because multi options, so selecting a command.
Okay, let's go ahead and hit enter. It's rebooting. Ta-da! Where'd it go? All gone. So now you can type in root and VMware. Generally, you don't add it to root. When it depends on where you're working. On AIX boxes, they don't. It doesn't really matter. So all I did was change my user ID to 0 and I was root. So I cheated. But depending on security profile. So now do a dia and hit enter. And so we only have the volume there. And let's do EVX. So you only have those. How do you fdisk? Space minus L. Space minus L. L. Yes, space. Vertical bar, which is over that thing right, that part. Vertical bar, space. Grep. GRET. E. Grep. GRE. Echo. Not grep. Grep. So it'd be Golf, Romeo, Echo. Echo. C. E. Space. VDA. Or VD, just VD. Enter. So you don't have any hard drive, extra hard drive. So you're missing your hard drive. So we need to go into view. Detail. Add hard drive. Storage, make it 5. And hit finish. Do it again.
Right on.
Mhm.
Right again.
5. Finish. Okay, so now she has sites. Okay, now go back to view. And type in reboot. And then reboot your machine. Log in as root, head up arrow until you get fdisk Manzel grep. And you'll see more drive.
My virtual drives, I made them too large. I forgot to change.
So what?
Is that fine?
That's fine for what we're doing. Cool. You know, you're just gobbling up all my discs. That's all. We got plenty of disk. I have 3 terabytes on the machine. We got plenty of disk. Doing okay back here?
It's fine, but it means.
I just.
That's a good problem. You see your type in ID. It shows you its times. The app install won't work unless you're root. So you can either log in as root or try SUD. Let's see if that works. And then. Yeah, your guys back. So the SU made. Whatever the password was. Now.
Activity. Yes. I'm using this fat one.
Now. Already felt like bringing in the new.
No, yeah, no, I think the white here, even in the factors.
Yeah. Now Tux, yeah, the ability to do.
Just
Now, let's see. Okay, so click on view. And then go to details.
And then.
And
you can make it.
there we go.
We wrapped around each sharpened it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, write it down like excess. Yeah, it's big. Just type site.
And they're there. Actually, we're reused. The mouse. Now, when the machine boots, it's gonna see those new drives. And then we'll go through the steps to make the drives available for the other. Yes.
I just installed pseudo.
The axe. Your mouse has to be inside and click. So where are they? View, detail. They're not there. You haven't added any. Add hardware. Storage, 5 gig. Go twice. And once you get the drive installed, reboot. Then, once everybody gets their drives there, and I know I went blistering fast. Here's kind of what we'll do. Make this bigger. And that doesn't show it. Oh, well. So if you run fdisk vertical bar grep vd, it shows you only the physical drives, not all the loopback things that are in there. Okay. And grep is a way to say, give me anything that's got a VD in it, and then ignore the rest. So what we have to do first is, if I want to run that command again, I go bang 28, run it again. So you can see I've got my B, C, my A. My A is what we installed, and these are the partitions. The B we just installed, and the C we just installed. To make this is fdisk. Add hardware, add disk, reboot, fdisk. And we say fdisk dev Victor Delta Bravo. And then what you will type in is N for new. And it tells me error because it's already there. And then take the defaults. And then at the very end, it says T. This is where you type in 8 echo to give it an LVM label. As we discovered, you can't have it uppercase. It needs to be 8 echo lowercase, or it just ignores it. It doesn't give you any warning. It just, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm ignoring you completely. You know, kind of like my wife says to me when I leave my hearing aids out. Okay. And then you do a W to write it out. And then once it's written out, you can use PVS, and it will show you that those drives have the one little marker dot that says we can make them a part of an LVM. That's what the fdisk does. It writes a little tiny block of disk that says, hey, we're going to be part of an LVM. Oh, cool. So when you use the command PVS, show me physical volumes, they show up. Okay. After we do that, we want to create the physical volumes by using the PV create command. I don't know if that came through. Probably not. We do it this way, PV create. And all these have to be done as root or sudo. This is not for standard users, obviously. Would you want a standard user changing the file points and partitions on your? Yeah, that could cause a lot of headache. What happened? Okay. Then you say dev Victor Delta Bravo 1. Notice I'm using. Do I do that? Yeah. I need to give it the partition name, not just the drive name, the partition name as well. Okay. And I hit enter. Successfully created. And then if I do PV display, it shows me all the fun things that I can use or not use. Okay. PE stands for physical extents. And that shows you free or not free. The physical extents is the same buzzwords that we use in AIX for database stuff. They're there.
Right, so.
Well, and you, what do we just do? CV create. And then you have to use the partition name. Okay. PV create, go do this after this. And then PV display shows them to us. Now, all that to get to this point, I've created added two drives. They're now labeled to be a volume, part of my volume manager. Now I want to create a volume group to go over both drives. So I'm going to create a VG, a volume group. Okay. All this stuff is almost verbatim the same stuff that's on AIX, because IBM wrote all of this and put it in the Linux kernel. Thank you, IBM. Okay. Although what they're doing now, who knows? So here's how we create a volume group. Let's start with VGS first. There's my volume groups. I only have one. And right now, that's the one that was created when we installed. Okay. So clear. Here's VGs. So let's create a volume group. Got any ideas? How about VG create? Here's how it looks. VG CREATE. I'm glad I have notes where I wouldn't be able to spell it. So I'm going to call this Deb 12 new, just for the sake of calling it new. And now I tell it which partitions on those physical drives do I want to be part of this volume group. So I could have 4 drives with 4 partitions and create a volume group over the 4 drives. Redundancy, anyone? That's how we do it. Okay. So in our case, we're only using 2 drives, and each drive has 1 partition, but we're going to put both drives into our volume group. Here's how it's done. SDB, whoop, yep, not SD. And Victor Delta Charlie. Okay. Notice the way this one works is VG create. So this is the name of the volume group. So the volume group gets a name. And then I tell it which drives are going to it. So let's call this new VG. Just so I know it's a VG. Okay. We'll make it like the other one. Now, if I do VGS, there they are. But notice, wait a minute, where's the one I just created? It's because there's some pieces I need to add to it. Okay. Let's go VG display. Yes.
I have an error in the device plan for.
Ah, an error. How fun.
We're creating volume group with the same.
Oh.
See, might be.
Okay, no device found. So do F disk minus L space vertical bar grep space BD enter. So there they are.
Oh,
Vector. Oh, Delta Baker, not Baker Delta. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. So it's virtual disk 1. Okay, now let's look.
names. Yeah, I put one and she put that there, so I don't have ones nearby.
Yeah, did you do F disk?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and enter. Okay, it worked. So it's there. Now do VG display. Yeah, Y enter. And it shows you the 2. Oh, here's your new one. There's the new one. So it worked.
Yeah.
So it worked. Yes, so you did F disk, right? Because what his did is it gave him an error when he typed in this. Okay, gave him an error.
The same as.
But when he typed in this, it worked.
Do you not have that one in the very?
All that means is now the entire drive is allocated to the VG. And it says can't do it, it's already created. So if you do it, the partition, the only thing I can think of is that the partition 8 echo didn't get laid down under F disk. That's the only thing I can think of. Well, it might be something else, who knows? But this is the kind of thing, practice VGs on volume in virtual arenas. Okay, one more thing, and then we will get moving on and then create here. All right, so it's there. And so it's already there. So let's look at LVG. There they are, new, the original, 6 gig. And if I do VG scan, it shows you what they are. And now we'll do LV create. This is a logical volume. I'm going to call it LV1. I'm going to say size is 1 gigabyte. And I'm going to call it add on 1. But I should give it, let's do this. LV add 1. Logical volume add 1. Whoops, volume group not found. So let's get the right volume group. What am I doing wrong here? Volume. Oh, I've got it backwards. This needs to be deb. Whoa. And the name of the new logical volume will say add 1-LV. Okay. Now we'll add another one. So we have 6 gigabytes. We'll make that one 5 gigabytes. So there we go. That's what I did. So when we create the volumes, physical volumes, add them. We tell them they're an LVM. We do PV create. We do VG create. And then we do LV create to create our mount. And now we are almost ready to use these.
Insufficient free space.
Hmm?
Insufficient free space.
And possession free. Well, let's make it, you can say megabytes,
5 megabytes.
it's like 900 megabytes. Yeah. And
Oh, wait.
okay, do what is it? LV scan or LV display.
Display. No, but that's one.
And it shows you what's available. So there you go. And there is a flag for use all rest. So you can say 500 M.
500.
Yeah. And then because the advantage of using volume groups like this is you can make them smaller than what you actually need. So when you know your disk is going, your database is going to grow, you just say extend volume group and you don't have to bring the machine down. You can do this live or when the machine is running. Very handy. Could you do that?
Plus, what would be that?
Yeah, it tells you they're there, but did you miss it on line? You hit the tax pay. And hit up. And try PV create with just BDB and BBC without. Did you skip the step of FDIS that wrote out a echo to market? This might happen. So now the entire drive is allocated to that volume group. So I know it's late and we're done, but now what we gotta do is, now we got everything done. Oh, wait, we need to create a mount point. How do we mount these things so we can use them? Same time, same tux channel next week. And we'll continue on. And if your machine is broken, come in early, even though there's another class going, and we can work on it. We can get it up to snuff to where this one is, or I'll just copy mine to yours. Or maybe copy yours to mine, if mine's broken. Okay. All right, very good. So we will continue LVM to mount points. And this is getting, we're a little off track from test out, but the LVM stuff is definitely real world. And I did this all the time. Almost every day I was doing something with logical volumes and bad disk drives. Of course, they had a gazillion of them. No. The best well, we're gonna have fun. Alrighty, folks. On that note, we're kind of done for the evening.